So hello everyone, welcome to a new episode of Voices of Hult. Today's guest is Maria Ludovica, Ludo. She's from Italy. She's an alumni representing Amazon. So hi, Ludo.
Hello and welcome to Voices of Hult.
Hi, thank you for having me. I love that you said representing Amazon. Which
Exactly.
No, I represent myself here, in my own opinion, but I do currently work at Amazon, which is...
Good. So tell us a little bit more about you.
Yes, of course. Well, thank you both for having me. I love what you're doing with the podcast. So kudos to both of you and to the entire team who's putting this together.
She is actually, sorry to interrupt the introduction, but she is our fan number one.
I
She
love
came to
podcasts.
us and she was like, you know what? I listen to every episode of your podcast. I really like it. Can I interview you? Like listening to her stories, we were like, oh my God, we want you in the
want
podcast
you,
right
yes,
now.
definitely.
When are you available? Because you're not here in Boston. Currently, you're not located.
I'm based in New York as of now. So I'm actually here for work. I was here for work like at the end of the week. And so we're taking advantage of that time as well.
Exactly, time management.
Yes, but anywho, so I was saying, but yes, I do listen to all the episodes. I love what you guys are doing. I love podcasts, so I'm very glad that Hult finally has this. I think it's a great way to represent our school, our current students, and all of our of the student body. But yeah.
Exactly. So what's your correlation with Hult?
So I studied at Hult in 2017 and 2018. I did a dual degree. So I came here for a master in international business first. In 2017, started in Boston. Then I rotated to Shanghai and London, and then I ended my path at Hult in San Francisco for my dual degree in business analytics.
You really saw every campus, huh?
Literally. And you were telling us like when you did MBAN, you were like the first year doing MBAN in San Francisco.
Yes, my year was the very first year that the program started. And so it was only available in San Francisco, which is now not true any longer. It's available in many other campuses. But yeah, we were the guinea pigs. We tested it for you. We gave feedback on what courses we didn't like and which ones were really useful. So you're welcome. That's all I'm saying.
Thank you so much because Lidia and I are going to do MBAN.
Yeah.
So I'm staying here in Boston. Lidia's going to San Francisco. So we're
Exactly.
going to see what's happening, right?
I'm excited for you to kick that off. I'm sure you'll love it.
It's going to be really cool. And now on the rotation, we're going to see if we can go to any other different campus. But we are trying to think about, like, we're mostly trying to do the seminars in some other places.
Yeah.
But, I mean, we're going to see how this happens. Still.
Exactly.
Yeah, and the beauty of Alt is that there's no one size fits all.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Everybody has had a different experience. I've had plenty of friends who stand by and, like, you know, decided to stay in one campus only. I decided to obviously rotate to many others. Everyone has different priorities as well in what you're looking to do and why that's happening to you. So again, you should embrace whatever journey you're starting, but you should also know that there's plenty of people that have experienced one way or the other before. So you can
Exactly.
always reach out and ask more if you're debating to go one way or the other.
Exactly.
Great.
So you have been staying here in the US already for 6 years. So you started here at Hult, and then here you are, 6 years after, still here in the US, working in New York, Los Angeles. Because last time that we called you, you were
Yeah.
traveling around.
In a
and
different
here,
location all the time.
exactly. And now here in Boston, right? How did this process started? And mostly, like, we are all international students. So our main concern for some of us is even the visa. So how was your visa process and all of this?
So it's been a minute. I have been around
Yeah.
for 6 years, which is a lot if I think about it. But yeah, so after I graduated both here and from San Francisco. So after I graduated MBAN, I would say that my second year I was more focused on finding an internship, like
Right.
getting to understand how really this visa situation worked. First of all, getting educated about it, you know, understanding what's up with that, what should I know, and where should I focus my energy on. So my second year, I focused on finding an internship. After finding an internship, after graduating, it was basically focused on finding a job. I didn't have a clear idea in mind if I wanted to stay for like a long period or just for taking advantage of the F1 visa that it's 1 year. But ultimately, I ended up taking advantage of the 1 year visa. And then I did the STEM extension, given that I had done the MBAN, so I could extend that for 3 years. So I did all of that. The first job I found was actually a funny thing here at Hult in the career service department. So I worked as a employer relations coordinators. It's hard to remember right now. Again, it's been a minute. I'm quite old. I'm quite the seasoned Hult alumnus present today. So bear with me, I'm old. But yeah, that was my very first role. But I only ended up staying in that role for a few months because thanks to another alumni, I ended up finding a different job in tech, in advertisement technology.
Okay.
So the way it went is before I accepted my job at Hult, I was interviewing obviously a lot. And I had done an interview for this AdTech company where an alumnus had posted this job description onto our My Career portal. So I found it there, went and interviewed, had a very great conversation, clicked very well with the team, with the alumnus and with the other managers. But it was very straightforward in telling me that that position was for an internship, and he thought that my level was already overqualified for that position. So he said, if you want, I can give you the job, but truthfully, I think you should keep looking and accept like a full-time position rather than this one. So that's what I did. I kept on interviewing and I accepted a different position. And a couple months after, he ended up reaching out to me again and said, we actually have a full-time position right now that I believe you would be perfect for. Would you feel like starting that interview process and that process one more time to see if you get the job? I said yes, basically because as an international student, you all know what is suggested is obviously take all the interviews, do them as practice as well, like do them as training rounds if nothing else comes from it. So, sorry about it.
So good advice for everyone. You gotta go there out and practice as much as you can.
Yes, exactly. Accept those interviews. Obviously, accept things that make sense for you, that are okay, that respect your boundaries, I would say, something like that. But yeah, definitely accept them, take those interviews. So what I did was later on, I accepted this interview, ended up getting the job. It was a great job in tech, which was kind of like an industry that I wanted to break into.
Nice.
And and basically I accepted. And for that job, I could use the extension instead. For the one that I had previously accepted here at Hult, I would have stayed for 1 year and then there was no more opportunity for me to extend it.
Like you see, sometimes you don't end up right after school, like to your dream job, but you just like have to try. And have, as you said, like many different interviews, and then they will lead you to a different job, or like based on your network, based on like how good even you were like during your previous job, and then like reaching slowly but definitely surely your dream job. So yeah,
absolutely. I think there is truth when at the career service or other people from Hult they tell you trust the process. It sounds very like, I know it sounds loosey goosey, like
like trust the process,
like get this crystal and get this other thing and pray to gods, etc. No, that's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is yes, trust the process, because as long as you do your due diligence and as long as you do what you're supposed to, put in your effort, as long as you've done internal like things to understand what your goals are, kind of like prioritizing your industry, your role, your location, as long as you've done that and then you've done your due diligence, meaning you've trained, you feel like you've got it, things will happen and the process will unfold for you in ways that you won't necessarily understand at first.
Exactly.
So then you end up in the AdTech industry.
Yes.
And for all the marketeers out there,
what is
it? Yeah,
what is AdTech?
The first time I heard about it was because of you, and I was like, wow, like I was not aware like it was like an AdTech industry.
So when we talk about advertisement technology, basically AdTech means all the software and tools that advertisers out there use to target audiences in a digital way. So that's the definition of all of it, of the entire industry. So again, it's everything that has to deal with digital marketing. the area that I focus on specifically, it's a type of buying that is called programmatic buying that works with artificial intelligence.
Okay.
And so basically many of the times where you're looking at your phone and you're out there thinking,
there is
oh
Ludo
my
in the
God.
back, right?
Yeah.
She's just like, hi,
You're like,
it's
"Hi,
me.
I know all about you.
Why am I being served this? They're
Yeah.
listening to me and stuff like that. No, I'm not listening to you, but the industry that allows for that to happen, for you to be targeted so granularly and so specifically, it's the AdTech industry. It basically empowers advertisers with digital insights that otherwise they wouldn't be able to apply and to target you, I guess.
Yeah. I've always think about like, is my phone listening to me? Like, what is this going? I was just talking about this party or whatever, and suddenly like I'm getting like emails or ads about like, buy your ticket here, or you want to travel to this place, and I was like, what? I was just talking about vacations. Like, how do you know?
So that's not what happened. Obviously, there's layers to this. Obviously, I don't work on social ads. I don't work for anything that is social advertisement, so I can't speak to that. There's a lot that happened. I think we can do a whole other full episodes about it if you guys want to.
Actually.
But I don't want to go too granular into it, but it is quite interesting to understand how you're targeting, and it should be something that, especially in business school, we get educated on.
Yeah, exactly.
Because the average user should know what's happening out there and should know what things are relevant and what are not.
Yeah.
So I would say that 95% of the time, if you told me, this is the ad that I saw, why did I get targeted? I could tell you why and how. 95%, I don't mean to sound arrogant though, but 95% of the time I could tell you how you got targeted. A lot of it is a lot of modeling as well. Audience model, like basically modeling the audience and understanding it so that you can be very specific in the targeting. Sometimes there's IP addressing involved. There's a bunch of tools that you can get at your disposal. Normally, I get paid to tell advertisers which one you should leverage in this specific. When you have this type of goal, what should you do to achieve it the best way possible and being the most efficient with your dollars, basically, and with your budget.
But so you are working in tech, which is usually conceived as a male industry. So we just like, we don't have just to sponsorize them exactly in the month of March, but it's actually a topic that, as Rafa was saying, it's a hot topic. And it's not just like for males, but as you can see, like it's definitely for everyone. Young females, just like you, that got passionate about this industry. So how do you feel in working in this? And if you do have any challenge that you have to work on daily, maybe?
Yeah, I think while working on it, it's not like on the day-to-day you're going to feel like marginalized or unrepresented. Like it doesn't happen on the day-to-day, but there's like key moments where you're going to feel that, which can be daunting, obviously, for women, and which can kind of move you to encourage you to give up or not to pursue certain roads, let's say it that way. But I like to focus on the day-to-day and I like to focus on the good things of what I'm getting out of it rather than those moments, but there's definitely some moments that are there. The key challenges about working in tech, I would say, for women are that very likely you're going to be a little underrepresented. So especially when you look at the managerial level, it's not that common that you're going to see female managers at very high level. When it happens, I would say treasure that opportunity and try to understand those women as much as you can. Another key challenge is the biases that you face on a day-to-day.
Basically, what we just said, like the tech industry is mostly for male, but it's not. It's just a bias.
And it is quite interesting because when you're inside the industry, you feel like the bias is also specific for certain roles. You see many women employed in marketing, in HR, in sales, and in those type of function of the job that for people, like stereotypically, they tend to require female qualities.
We just talked about this topic in our first week of March episode. So if you want to recheck that with Marlena, shout out to her. She explained a little bit, what was the process behind this thought of these biases that there were. So
of creating or keep perpetuating that gender gap that basically happens. So the bias is, first of all, you're going to see representation only in certain roles rather than others. When you get to the managerial role, you're going to see it drop quite significantly. When it comes to software engineering, technical role, you're going to see that representation being almost null. So again, I would always say treasure the examples that you have, and those women probably go into a day-to-day of being unrepresented and feeling like they're made feel diminished or something like that.
I see. But so do you have any strategies to deal with those biases, for example? Or challenges, as we call them?
I would say that I am still quite lucky, because I think what happens to me, and obviously what I'm going to share as strategies that
totally personal.
What I'm going to share as strategies, I also want to say it applies only to like moments of like, again, like there's a sticky, like you get like a small comment that might be hurtful or something like that, but not necessarily to an episode of harassment.
No, definitely.
Nothing like that. So
maybe mostly for situations that you go through, how to confront it.
Exactly. So I'm lucky that I didn't get to experience anything that heavy.
Traumatic.
Yes, that traumatic in my personal experience. So for anything like that, do not what I'm going to be speaking of does not apply. For anything like that, please report it and take actions upon it.
That's right.
For sure. But when it happens to you're sitting in a meeting and you're putting together a training for the rest of the team, you're with your peers, so you're both responsible for owning it. And one party goes like, I'll handle the content. You can make it pretty. You can make the presentation pretty at the end. When you hear those type of comments, strategies that I can apply might be useful. So what I like to do in situations like that is always, first of all, try to assume the best of the other person. So try to assume that comment wasn't made to hurt me or wasn't made me feel less of, or because they don't value my contribution.
Yeah, don't take it personal in a way.
I'm going to try to assume that was made, again, out of bias, out of ignorance, and when I say ignorance, literally not knowing, that's what I mean. But I'm going to assume that was made in the best possible way and not with an hurtful intent. So with that assumption, I think it's taking a breath, and it's easier to go into the educational portion of why that's not okay to say, in a way that it's not judgmental and where the other person doesn't feel attacked. Yeah. And so they might actually listen a little better, and they might react to it, understanding it and really understanding why that's not okay to say. So again, I like to go about it that way. So I assume the best in people. I try to educate them. And then when things like that happen to me, at the end of the day, I always like to do something that is like a check myself type of thing, where I'm like, okay, this has happened to me today, and it made me feel like I wasn't included, or it made me feel like I wasn't good enough.
And then do you speak with that person and you're just like, I don't know, have a private conversation and say,
Yeah, I think you can either decide to do it in the moment if it's in front of people and you feel like that's hurtful. But again, with assuming the best, and so sorry about it. Clumsy.
No, Italians. A lot of hands.
For the people that are listening and not watching the video, I just
the microphone.
I just attempted something with my microphone.
I'm sorry, we're speaking with our hands. What's the problem in here?
I love it.
Yeah. So what was I saying was even in the moment, if you're in a meeting with multiple people, you could respond something like, oh, that's not really my area of expertise. my area of expertise is not really being a designer or making things pretty or making the presentation pretty. Yeah. So I think we should both focus on the content, given that that's where my expertise would also shine the most.
Exactly.
So you can respond in a way that it's educational for the other person, and then if you feel particularly attacked, you can also go about it on a one-to-one basis as to why that wasn't okay. So again, this is the very specific example that I gave, but with the check myself, what I like to do at the end of the day is, so I felt like I was underrepresented today. What can I do? Where do I have privilege where instead I am a representation, and I can see that somebody else is not? So check my own privilege and understand, have I ever done some comments that have made others feel uncomfortable?
That's right.
And if so, what can I do better about it? And even if I've never done those comments, what can I do to be better for others that are underrepresented in that moment?
I see.
And I think that perpetuating that circle of educating, assuming the best, educating, and then checking if you can do something else
Sure.
from your own status of privilege could be very helpful.
And
for
supporting
people.
even the minorities.
Absolutely.
That's good how you are trying to make the other person be aware of what they just said, because literally maybe they were just not aware that what they were doing, and you're replying like that. Maybe you're just trying to like hey, like let's do this together. It's not because I'm a woman, I'm gonna do this better. This is not my area of expertise. So when they think back and they say like, oh, okay, yeah, you're right. Let's do this together. It's a really good way to teach the other person what, as you were saying, and then just like circling back with yourself to understand how can you improve by yourself or make something to make an impact on the organization. So I love how you're framing it, because it's not that you're just teaching someone, it's just like you're trying to take that for yourself and apply it on your daily basis.
I would say
Absolutely.
not just like in your daily basis, but as you mentioned, just like even to the community that they might be around, and try to make an impact on the community and say, okay, that's an issue that we're currently having. Let's try to make this better. Not just like looking at the others and judging and saying in a passive way, oh, they have done this, they have to do better. I can do better myself. I am representing a minority. Well, how can I help other people that are minorities to stand up in this industry, in this role, in this company, in many situations? And now I wonder, how is like the process of networking and mostly getting a job in such industry? I'm sure that here at Halt there are so many people that would love to enter like in such a company maybe, or even like such a such an industry itself. So how is the process?
Yeah, so tech can be pretty competitive, and I think everybody wants a job in the in big tech, in FANG, which is now no longer FANG, but those are like kind of like the top jobs that you're like, oh, anybody wants that. And that's what, as soon as you get out of school, you're like, oh, I need to get one of these, otherwise I won't be happy. I don't particularly see things that way.
Yeah.
I think what big companies and in general what tech can provide is a lot of opportunities for you, and like learning opportunities, specifically growing opportunities. So that's the reason why I love working in it and why I'm loving what I'm doing right now, just because I get to learn and I get to evolve on a very consistent basis, basically. And some other industry, unfortunately, because they move at a slower pace and also with slower scale, they cannot guarantee this type of growth. So I think that's why I like to think that it's a good job, and that's why I like to think that it's something that I want to keep going, rather than just thinking about money or just thinking about the name, just thinking about the branding of things. So again, I would suggest like shifting the focus to that, because that would be more successful, and you're prioritizing something that it's important rather than something that it's just for the moment.
Exactly.
When it comes to networking, obviously that happens. I think in any industry, I think here on the East Coast, in Boston, in New York, you can see how there's a dominance of tech presence, and so everybody. And so when you go to an event, everybody's going to be working in some form of tech, rather than, it's going to be very rare that you find somebody working in manufacturing or in the fashion industry. Maybe that's going to happen more in New York or something like that. But I do suggest, and I do encourage people to network as much as possible. But again, network with a purpose, meaning don't focus on the short-term goal, but focus on, again, like making that connection for not to get the job, but basically, this person is something that knows more about a topic than I do. Yeah. So they can bring value into my life because I can find out more from them. Like just from having them on LinkedIn, I can find out more about this industry or this topic that I'm not familiar with. And so network with that purpose rather than something else.
Definitely.
And I think, yes, go ahead.
Yeah, so no, nothing. That's just a recommendation for everyone.
Take notes, guys. Take notes.
Go out there and make those connections. And I love this that you're saying, like, make this connection not a short one. You should make it that something that's going to add value to your life, and it's going to be like a long-term relationship that you're going to have with this person, not just because you want to get this job position, because I think like you got to be real anyways. So moving on.
There was one more thing that I thought about. I was just wrapping my head around it, which is I got a job in like big tech after a while of working. Like I've been working for like 3 years, and then I finally got a job at Amazon, which was, though, again, like not my necessarily number one goal before. But there was so much value into working in a smaller company before that could really teach me how the industry works and all of that. So what I did in those previous 3 years really helped me build up and basically helped me achieve get the job later on in life. So I think sometimes as international student, don't sleep on those smaller companies that might be 100 people, 200 people companies, but that are still quite seasoned. Maybe they've been around for 7 to 10 years, something like that. But they can really teach you the way. They can teach you about the industry so much. When you're a rookie, when you're new, those years are going to be fundamental. So again, don't sleep on those company, and not necessarily after you're done with graduation, you're going to have to get the big tech company job. It can happen, it can happen in a more dynamic way later on.
And I think in these small companies, it's a lot to do and a lot to learn. So
100%.
Good advice, I would say. And we are all also looking for different options. So we're going to take your advice and open up a little view to a little bit some other options for smaller companies, I would say.
Yeah, but now that we are learning, we do have a question for you that you would, like, on the other hand, give to the world. And the question from our past guest was, if you could influence the world to develop one quality or one skill, what would it be? So, you see, instead of learning, now you're going to teach. What would be like the skills that you're going to teach to the whole world?
That's not a hard question for me. So as soon as you read it, immediately in my mind, I was like, I
have it.
I got it, which is empathy. I think that's the number one skill that, well, not necessarily a skill, but like a quality that the world needs. Not right now, but in general, always. Sometimes it's a quality that gets looked down at, which I don't agree with, because I think if societies were to work with more empathy towards everybody, not only within their society but outside, it would work much better. I also do want to bring this back to what does it mean to be a woman in business, or in general, it was just Women's Month, so you had all the specials about it. But empathy is a quality that normally gets linked to being a woman, or like female leadership, that type of thing. And beside the fact that it's stereotypical to link it with one way or another, because that's not the concept, that's a concept that we're trying to fight. But anyways, even if you link it that way, though, it has been seen and shown in many studies that whether it was countries, like whether it was leaders of countries, or whether it was women that were leading companies, the fact that they were leading it with empathy brought much better results than
that's actually what we said before. So it was constantly going in line with our previous conversation. And now, like, do you have a question for our future?
For our future guest that you don't know who's that. So
yes,
years.
So in perfect Voices of Hult tradition. So
we are.
You have a fan number one
exactly.
here.
My question for the next guest would be, what is a dream of yours that you've never shared out loud?
Okay.
So
we're gonna put it around here,
and we have to think about it.
We have to think about it. And well, I hope you tune in the next episode to see what our next guest is gonna have for us.
Awesome.
Okay? So
thank you so much. Hi, Hult community. Thank you for tuning in Voices of Hult. If you're interested in winning a $50 Amazon gift card, please go listen or watch my episode and respond to the questions at the very end of the episode, either with comments in YouTube or Instagram. And anybody who comments will have a chance to enter a raffle, and one lucky winner will win a $50 Amazon gift card.